Hello, dear viewer, and welcome to another episode of the Catholic League Forum. I'm Director of Communications of the Catholic League, Mike McDonald, and joining me is President and CEO of the Catholic League, Bill Donohue. Bill, as always, a very busy week. We dealt with the LGBT sex engineering in the classrooms and a very odd situation going on in Finland, but that doesn't really capture everything that we do at the Catholic League, and I think our dear viewer would appreciate some of the other things that we do get into. Could you give us a little recap of those?
Right. I want to spend a little more time on the ones you just mentioned because they're the most meritorious. We did put out a statement about the World Health Organization. They want to take away conscientious objector status for people who don't want to perform abortions. So I wrote right to the top about that. Also, John Stewart's a phony. We've known that for some time.
Yep.
All of a sudden, he's concerned about white people. He's very guilty. You know, he has a lot of this guilt because he's a white man. Maybe he should paint himself black. But the guy just lashed out at Andrew Sullivan, who's a bright guy, very interesting, kind of a complicated man. But Andrew made a nice statement about America not being a racist country, and that set off John Stewart. If you want to read more about why we regard him, that is to say Stewart, as a bigot, you'll find it on our website. The guy's a long history against black people and especially Catholics, so he is in no position to talk.
Yeah.
But the other issues are really more important than a punk like Stewart and the World Health Organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And dear viewer, if you are interested in any of those stories, check out our website, catholicleague.org. You can find all the information there. But Bill, as you're talking about, we got some very meaty issues to dive into today. And I just want to assure everyone that these are not April Fool's jokes. I know today is April 1st, but these are stories that we've been dealing with for a while, so you'll know this. Let's jump right into the Finland situation. We've highlighted this a couple of times here on the forum. And you sort of phrased it this week as this is the canary in the coal mine for religious liberties in the West. Can you give us just a brief recap and why you think that?
Right. First, let me just condemn the media in this country for not covering the story. I think I know why. But let me tell you what happened. A couple of years ago, a woman who's a parliamentarian in Finland and a practicing Christian, she actually made a statement on Twitter about marriage and the family and things of that nature. And she basically is taking a biblical view of marriage should be between a man and a woman. That set off the alarms over there. That's hate speech, they said. Then they went back and they found out that she also had a radio interview in a humorous mode talking about what would Jesus say about homosexuals. And in 2004, they found a pamphlet that she had written about God and man and woman and the traditional biblical understanding of sexuality. Well, a bishop there, a Lutheran bishop, he actually promoted. He got it published. Now he's interested. He's an interesting character because his own church, the Finnish Lutheran Church, came out and celebrated Gay Pride Week in 2019, which is what set off this woman parliamentarian. Now, interestingly, you're being tried for hate speech because you believe in the biblical account of marriage between a man and a woman.
Right, and I think that's an important point. There were no nasty names, nothing like that. It was just, this is what the Bible says, this is what I believe.
No slurs, no obscene commentary whatsoever. They said that the Bible wasn't on trial, but they lied. The Bible was on trial in Finland. 2 years they were going through this thing here. The prosecutor said, rather eerie to even talk about it, oh, you have freedom of religion in Finland. You can believe and think what you want.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, how would he stop you? What are we supposed to thank him for saying that I can think and believe what I want? But you can't express it, he said. That's the mark of fascism, people. That is totalitarianism. Now, the fact that they were acquitted, that doesn't relieve the issue whatsoever.
No.
The fact that they were on trial for expressing the Christian view, he said it's worse to regard something as a sin than a crime. Could you imagine that? And you know what? You know what's also, fascism has hit the Finnish media. The largest newspaper out of Helsinki in the entire state of Finland came out in favor of squashing the free speech and freedom of religion of this woman parliamentarian and the Lutheran bishop. But there's something else going on here. What is wrong with the Lutheran Church that they would give in to being heralding and champion of the Gay Pride Week? That's what set off the issue in the first place. And by the way, how has this worked out there? I look at this as a sociologist. Are people getting married in Finland? No. It's at an all-time low. What about sexually transmitted diseases? Yep, they're way up high. That's what happens when Christianity crashes and it's replaced by radical individualism. Finland's a disgrace, even if they didn't have the guts to go through and do what they wanted to do because of international pressure.
Yes, and that's why it's very important that at the Catholic League we fight each and every day on these issues, and any support that you can give us, dear viewer, will be greatly helped. Would be a great help to us. But fortunately here in this country, Bill, not everyone's quite rolling over and ready to die yet. In the free state of Florida, I got my Florida tie on.
There you go.
Governor DeSantis is fighting back and taking a stand for common sense rights for parents with his parental rights and education bill, which was signed into law this week. But not everyone's keen on this, and he's getting a lot of pushback and a lot of flack.
I think everybody who knows, almost everybody who knows the truth about the bill would be in favor of it. But thanks to our deceitful media, as well as polling companies, which I'm going to get to in just a sec, they're distorting it. All DeSantis is saying is this: if you're a kindergartner, first grade, second grade, or third grader, you are not to be sitting there in the classroom and being taught about gender ideologies, flipping sexes, or reading books about LGBTQI, XYZ people. You're protecting the little kids, and the parents have a right to know everything that's going on about sexuality, what's being taught in so-called health classes, etc. Now, who would be opposed to that? The gay activists, the trans activists, these people are opposed to it, and they've distorted what DeSantis is doing. He never said you can't discuss this. He said you can't have instruction for people in pre-K and through kindergarten. And by the way, the average American does not know what exactly is going on here.
No.
You actually have in some schools, as I wrote about recently, where they're asking little boys and girls in pre-K, are you happy and content being a boy or a girl, or do you think there's something else inside you? Do you want to be something of the opposite sex? And then if you say yes, they want to transition you. And on top of that, they do it behind the backs of parents. So DeSantis is not an alarmist.
No.
I'm not a Republican, by the way, or a Democrat. I'm an independent. Well, I'm simply saying what he's talking about is common sense and common decency. Parents have a right to talk about what goes on in the classroom, and they're doing this other stuff behind the backs of people. So it's astonishing that anybody in his right mind would be opposed to this, except that you're one of these activists.
Right. And, Bill, you had previously mentioned this, that the media and the polls are being deceitful. I think everyone here is probably familiar with, DeSantis versus Disney.
Right.
Like, that just gets a lot of headlines. But today, on Friday, you actually put out a very strong piece on the media's role and the polling company's role in that, and how they're driving a lot of the pressure to get rid of this.
Yeah, there are two kind of faux polls this week, designed clearly with the idea of delivering an expected answer, which is that most Americans are opposed to what DeSantis is doing. They didn't mention DeSantis in the questions, but they certainly did in the narrative explaining it. And the polls were deceptive because they're talking about, are you against this, any discussions about these issues in the classroom? DeSantis is not talking about discussion, he's talking about instruction. They also, DeSantis is talking about the little kids in the earliest grades up through grade the third grade, the eighth graders, the 8-year-olds. Because I used to teach that. I remember that. And so what they're in the questions are asking about what's happening in school. No, not in school. Why didn't you ask about the earlier grades? Not only that, they came out in some of these polls and they said that the majority of Americans were in favor of kids learning about this at the ages 5 through 11. I dug inside the data and found out that, in fact, the majority of people were opposed to it. It's a plurality, meaning the most of any one particular group at less than 50%. So you have dishonest surveys coupled with dishonest media spinning it. And by the way, anybody is free to disagree with the polls or with me. Just read what I've said and take a look at what they've said, and you'll see there's a mismatch here. And then if you can actually check the actual data itself. We'd have no reason to lie, but they do. They have an agenda. Ours is to tell the truth. That's what we're called to do as Catholics.
Absolutely. Well, Bill, I feel like that's a good point to wrap this episode up. But dear viewer, thank you for watching as always. And if you could give this a like and subscribe, it helps us get the numbers up incredibly, get the message out to more people. And if you're interested in any of the stories we discussed today, check out the link in the description below to our website, catholicleague.org. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.